Hello and welcome back to my RC channel. I'm Andy RC and today I'm checking out the Furibee F36S. This is another brushed tiny whoop. This time it is from GearBest, and you might be thinking the F36, that's a different model, and yes it is, it's this one here, and they have done similar to what Eachine did with the E010 and E010S. In that they have released a ready-to-fly but non-FPV version, very cheap, and it comes with a battery and a controller. And then they have released a tiny whoop style with a FPV, except this one's a little bit different than the Eachine. And that is because you have to build this one. So they give you these ducts here, and then you have got this flight controller. Now the flight controller is a SP Racing F3, so we've got a USB port in the back there, and it's in a diamond configuration, and it comes with a PPM, so not S-Bus, PPM FR Sky receiver built into it, so we have a little bind button there. And they also sell it with a Fly Sky version. I can't confirm whether that's the 2A version because they don't mention it, so it's probably the older Fly Sky protocol there, and also DSM2, DSM-X as well. But yeah, very easy to build. Just have these ducts here, and then the flight controller just sits on the top. You're given these foam pads here to soft mount. We have a screw at the back there, 2 screws at the side and 1 screw at the front. Now this was a little bit difficult to do. Can you see there, this is where the battery connects, and it's some miniature soldering going on there. So that's the positive and that's the minus, and then for the camera the same really, and those are really close together, I should say. So that's where your camera is soldered in there. So yeah, the camera's actually just a little bit over the wire. You can see that's positive and the negative there, very close together. So if miniature soldering isn't your thing, maybe this one isn't for you, and maybe get the Eachine model. But this one's a little bit cheaper, not by a huge amount, but yeah, a little bit cheaper. And of course you have the 6mm motors, and the only problem I came into there was the wires are all the same color, so they plug in underneath. So the motor cover underneath is a slightly different color, so the darker one is the clockwise and the lighter one is the counterclockwise. Other than that, you just push the motors in, plug them in. They are numbered on the top, so 1, 2, 3, 4, and away you go. Now another problem is that Cleanflight have recently upgraded the configurator to be similar to Betaflight, so the version of Cleanflight that this comes with is no longer supported on the Cleanflight configurator app. So I just flashed it with Betaflight and set up the Serial RX and have it in PPM mode, and it was ready to go. Out of the box it was just set up to have it arm on the rudder, and then it's permanently in angle mode. I've changed that so I can have acro mode, but I'm not going to go through the Betaflight setup because I feel like I've done that so much. Another reason I think that this model is a bit cheaper is it doesn't come with a battery, which I think is a shame because they give you in the box this micro lossy connector here. Now the frame is off the F36, and that expects one of these 150 milliamp batteries with a, I think it's a JST connector. It might be 2mm, I think, except that I don't have any batteries with a micro lossy that will fit into there, so I've had to fit a 2-pin micro JST 1.25 pitch, and then I'm going to be using this battery here, which is designed for the Inductrix. It's from Banggood, and if they still list it, I'll link it below because it's actually a really good battery. So 0.22 amps, so 220 milliamp, 50C, gives a nice amount of punch and flight time as well, so very nice there. So yeah, the camera, I think it's the same as the Eachine as well. It's 40 channel, 25 milliwatt. Really wide field of view. You get given these rubber bands here to wrap around the camera, and then we've got a button on the side there. A long press goes through all of the different bands, and then short press through the different channels. So it's a 40 channel. They give you this instruction manual, but it's not very good. This is all of the channels here if you want to go through. You can see the majority of it is in Chinese here, but there's a little bit of English, and it shows you the Cleanflight setup there, but like I say, a bit obsolete now. and also the stuff that you get in the package with it as well. So as I say, you don't get a battery, but you do get given, as I mentioned, micro Lozzy. You get given a charger for micro Lozzy, which is no good for me anyways, and then you're given this 3M sticky tape, and that is for your camera to sit on, but you need the band over the top as well, otherwise it's just gonna come loose. You're given a prop protector, and you're also given, well, 3 sets of props, which is pretty nice. However, these models don't tend to break props, so it would have been nice to just get a battery with it, I think. Yeah, so I'm going to be using the charger that came with the tiny Whoop, because that just slots into there. But I think it would have been better if they had provided a battery with it, but there you go. So I am going to be using my Taranis Plus to control it. I'm going to be using my Fat Shark Dominator HT3s to FPV with it, and it flies very nice indeed. Very lightweight setup, just 19 grams, which is what you would expect from this kind of model. It's not going to have a huge amount of range with these built-in receivers. You're probably going to be good for 100 meters. However, if you're taking it outside, there's no buzzer on it or anything like that, so I wouldn't really take it very far. Otherwise, you could be looking for it for a long time. So I managed to find a pretty calm day, and I thought, you know what, I'm going to see how this model flies outside, and it was actually really good. It flew really smooth with the Betaflight installed on it, and it's just the stock PIDs as well, and it was just ultra smooth. So this is flying in acro mode here, but of course I just fly in angle mode inside. But you can see there, able to do some rolls. I was quite surprised about that. Of course, you don't have the punch that you have from a bigger model, like say a brushed model with 8mm motors, or even a brushless model, but if you do want to venture outside with this model, then you can, and you can have some fun with it, and that's what I was having here, just sort of dodging around these hills here. That's full throttle there, and you have to give yourself a little bit of space to do a roll, but like I say, it can do it. So I was really impressed with the camera quality. Of course, the camera has a cloverleaf antenna, and if you keep it in fairly close, then the picture is just absolutely fantastic, and it's absolutely ample for indoors. So I'll go and do some indoor flying in a moment, but I just wanted to see how it would fly outdoors, and it flew very well. Just a little bit of breakup as my back is facing to there, but not bad at all. So I thought I'd just play around a little bit, flying through my legs, using my legs as gates. And I was really impressed with this battery as well, so if they still sell that, I'll link it below. But I'm going to go and do some indoor flying now, and I must apologise, I don't know what was wrong with me, but my skills just weren't up to scratch today. I was bashing into stuff, but I wanted to take advantage of this track being down here, because it's quite rare that there's not a little person around it trying to break everything. So I wanted to see if I could fly underneath it, but I wasn't too successful. But yeah, that battery, it weighs just 5.5 grams, and like I say, I'll link it in the below if they still sell it, because I was getting 5-minute flight times with this model and that battery, and I thought that was really impressive, because usually I only get, what, a 3.5 minute to 4 minute flight time with these tiny Whoop aircraft. Just look at the reception though on this camera, considering it's just 25 milliwatt. Amazing. And you can see there we have a little Disney character dotted around the house. That is not a rare sight these days. But again, I'm trying to tackle this track, and I think I definitely underestimated how small these gaps were here in the track, and also around the house as well. Like I say, I don't know what was wrong with me, but I kept bashing into stuff. I was trying to get underneath it, and this is what is great about the tiny Whoop category, is that you can just bash into things and it doesn't really affect how the model flies. You see, the moment that anything interferes with a prop, that's it. It's usually quadcopter down, you know, but that's why we like these tiny Whoop aircraft. You can smack into stuff and it carries on flying, with the only exception of if it flips upside down and lands upside down, then you are a bit scuppered. But just look at this, threading the needle through here. You have no idea how tiny those gaps are. They're really small. The model was small, but it was struggling to fit through them. yet. So yeah, I like this setup, and I think some of you might be thinking, well, I don't want it if it doesn't come with a battery, but usually you only get one battery with these types of models anyway. And yeah, absolutely, I think they messed up with the connector there, because I don't have any batteries of that size. They just say that they recommend a 150 milliamp battery for it, and that's it really. But this battery here, it does just slot in to that battery compartment, and I just sort of slide it through the gap and it wedges in place nicely, so that wasn't too much of a problem. But like I say, I think if you have a model like this, you're going to be buying yourself lots of batteries anyways. Just make sure that you get one of these thin ones for this model, or if you've got a smaller 150 milliamp battery from the Ishin models, then you know those do fit in perfect. But like I say, they don't use a micro lozzy, so you would either have to change the connector of the battery and stick a micro lozzy on, or get yourself some of those 2mm JST connectors as well. But of course, like I say, it comes with a lozzy, not one of those. So I think if they'd have provided that connector with this, then I'd have been fine, because I got loads of those 150 milliamp batteries. However, it did push me to try this 220 milliamp battery, and I'm glad that I did, because one of the reasons that I kind of shy away from the tiny whoop style aircraft is the flight time. And the flight time was fantastic with this battery. Like I say, you've seen a full flight here, but not very good skills. So yeah, I've actually been flying this model around quite a lot. You wouldn't know it, the way that I'm flying it, just skimming the floor there. But yeah, I was impressed with it, and I had a lot of fun with it. And like I say, I'll link this model in the below as well, because I think it's great for just flying around the house. So there you go, that is my review of the Furibee F36S. As always, thanks so much for watching. Please continue to subscribe. Cheers.